My choir days, I learned to project, so I think you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I notice we have a lot of new faces here that were not here last night when we had the launch. So since I didn't know I was going to speak, I will give a brief reprise of some of the remarks I made last night. Okay? I am Gilbert Rochon. Actually, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. Arden is in New York, okay, the headquarters. I'm not the co-founder. I was recruited by Jabril in 2012 when I was president of Tuskegee University. And he recruited several presidents through the National Association for Equal Opportunity in Higher Education, historically black college presidents. And he recruited a group of mayors, black mayors from the United States, as well as mayors from Africa. And we all converged in Senegal. We met with Abdoulaye Wade, who was then president, climbed to the top of the Renaissance Monument, which is taller than the Statue of Liberty, etc. But at any rate, Arden has multiple initiatives that Diallo Jabril serves as our leader. He was formerly the deputy director of UN AIDS in Geneva, and then became director of UN AIDS for West Africa. He's now the president and CEO of Arden, based in New York, which is a 501c3 nonprofit NGO, and it is commissioned by the United Nations Deputy Secretary General to popularize the development goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. And the ones that Arden is particularly zeroing in on include the issue of youth empowerment, which is and climate sustainability, which is why we convened the Youth and Climate Change Summit in Niamey, Niger, as a parallel event of the Summit of the African Union. And it was at that African Union that they signed the continental-wide trade agreement. So it was a great historic opportunity for the youth to be involved. In addition, there is the Higher Education Initiative, for which I'm one of several co-chairs. And a recent offshoot of that is the Aduri Task Force, African and Diaspora University Research, Instruction, and Engagement Task Force, Aduri. And I've got some chairing that, we have a number of very distinguished individuals on this group. And our purpose is to forge unity between universities in the diaspora and universities in the continent. So, it is within that context, and I'm making the link here, that Arden is very much involved with the Red Card campaign, and will be hosting the global launch in March at the United Nations headquarters. And this initiative here, initiative that occurred 3 weeks ago in Nairobi, Kenya, which brought together people there, are all part of dealing with a campaign to end, not just mitigate, violence and discrimination against women and girls and people with disabilities. What I recall indicating last night is that I don't have to be convinced of the need for women to have equal opportunity in higher education, because I have a gifted daughter who's now an obstetrician gynecologist. I have a gifted wife who's an Emmy Award-winning television producer. I have a gifted mother who's 95 years old, who supervised the chemistry labs at Xavier University for 34 years before she retired. And she kept that job, despite its low salary, because it gave her sons, her 3 sons, an opportunity to get a college education on scholarship. And so I ended up going to university, et cetera, et cetera. My middle brother, Stephen, became the second black admiral in the U.S. Coast Guard since the Coast Guard was founded in the year 1790. Wow. The youngest brother, Gregory, decided he wanted to become an electrician. Finished at the top of his training class, went to the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and they said, "Why do you keep coming back here? You know we only accept white electricians." So a lawsuit was filed by the A. Philip Randolph Institute and the Urban League, and they settled out of court. So he and one other electrician were admitted to the union. Fast forward 20 years, he was elected president of the New Orleans local of the IBEW, okay? And then after Katrina went on to become supervisor for Amtrak at Union Station in DC. So I am not only do I have these illustrious three women in my lives, my wife with whom I've been married for 49 years, okay, but also for 30 years I have been teaching men and women as students, undergraduates and graduate students. And I can attest without any hesitation or any doubt that girls and women are at the very, very least, at least as intelligent as men. And I'm sorry, but I have to say that in most cases they excel, because they have this additional motivation and an additional compassion, and some of my best students have been women and girls, okay? So we're looking forward to collaborating in whatever way possible. I will be, my area of specialization has become satellite remote sensing. We were commissioned by NATO to establish real-time remote sensing ground stations for early warning of disasters in Morocco at two universities, Abdul Malik Saadi University and Al Qawain University in Tangier and Ifran, for forest fires, floods, drought, storms, hazardous chemical and oil spills, and vector-borne epidemics by monitoring the habitat of the vectors of disease. So in that context, I am just recently served for a few years as on the Technology Advisory Board for the Center for High Performance Computing for South Africa, CSIR, in Cape Town. And their director, Dr. Happy Sitole, is now also the Director of Cyber Infrastructure Development for the country of South Africa. So technology we see as being an opportunity to advance the cause of Pan-Africanism. And it is in that context that my co-author, Dr. Cherno Chiam from Senegal, who was my postdoc at Purdue University and is now Chair of History and Political Science at Tuskegee, we just 3 weeks ago got our book published on sustainability, emerging technologies, and Pan-Africanism, because we're convinced that emerging technologies like remote sensing, like high-performance computing, like as well as issues that involve interdisciplinary collaborative research play a major part in facilitating the campaign to unify the continent. Because when we remain in these isolated enclaves that have been carved out by the European colonizers, that was not made for our benefit, we get trade deals that serve only the benefit of the colonizers and the internal oligarchs, and not the people themselves. So thank you very much for coming out, and we look forward to working with you. Hope to see you in New York for the global launch of the Red Card campaign. Hope to see you in Kigali, Rwanda, for the next conference of the African Association for the Remote Sensing of the Environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Rochon. Okay, so since the mic has died, we're just going to wrap up now. Tante's going to read the pledge, and we're going to go